Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and welcome to the first draft video of the 2022-23 season. It's a very exciting time indeed. I am so ready to get started, but I thought before we do anything else, before we make any other videos, the first thing I'd do is show you my initial draft for Fantasy Premier League for the 2022-23 season. I've been working on it behind the scenes for a while, even before the game was launched. I think it's a pretty good one, but bear in mind, it is not finalized. Guys, if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like. It really does help out the channel a whole lot. And please do subscribe as well. That would be amazing. We're looking to get 150,000 subscribers before Game Week 1. I think we can do it, but I can only do it with your help. So, let's have a look at this draft I've come up with for Game Week 1. Let's go, baby. So yeah, like I say, this draft could change a lot, so please don't think that this is my final team. I will do a lot of research over the coming months. I'll be bringing out a lot of content, and we'll have so much more information in a month's time. But certainly for now, I just really want to try and create a team that can capitalize on my top 1,000 finish last year. I want to get back-to-back top 1K finishes. I think I can do it, but it's going to take a lot of luck and it's going to take a lot of good team selections. But if I did it once, I can do it again. Let's go. So, in goal, we're going to start off with Mendy. I think Mendy is just such an obvious goalkeeper pick at 5 million. You know, you really can't do too much better than that. And I know people will be looking at the other goalkeepers and saying, okay, there were some other 5 million goalkeepers that actually scored a little bit higher than Mendy last season. But the thing is with Mendy is he actually missed a few games last season because of going off to AFCON and playing for Senegal in the African tournament. So, because of that, he didn't play a couple of games. He missed a couple of games for Chelsea, which did reduce the amount of points he was capable of playing. But when you adjust for the fact that Edouard Mendy did miss a couple of games at AFCON in the Premier League, well, suddenly he looks like a much better option. And only kind of, Alisson, Lloris, Edison, maybe like Jose Sa was about the same as him, but you know, who are we going to trust? Are we going to trust Mendy with Chelsea's phenomenal fixtures? Like, they've got insane fixtures. You know, Everton, Spurs, Leeds, Leicester. Even after that, Southampton, West Ham, Fulham away. They've only really got Liverpool at home as their one tough fixture in the entire first half of the season. So they've got a blinding start. We've got to get some Chelsea players in. And what a great place to start. Mendy as our goalkeeper for 5 million. Insane bargain. Next player, we're going to go for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Actually, one of the first players on my entire team sheet. Him coming in at 7.5 million is just a cheat code, basically. I don't understand why he hasn't gone up in price. He was the third highest scoring player in FPL last season. It was just an absolute madness. He gets the same amount of points as premium players. He gets the same amount of points over the course of the season as players who are worth 10 million, 11 million, 12 million. Every single year at this point, so it's quite crazy that he's still only 7.5 million. There is no better way to spend your budget than on Trent Alexander-Arnold. We are going to go for Robertson next as well. We're going to double up on the Liverpool defence. I mean, I think there's two Liverpool players who you should definitely go for: Alexander-Arnold and the obvious other midfielder, Salah. And then after that, you're basically torn between who you're going to go for, Robertson at 7 million or Diaz at 8 million in midfield. I'm going to go for Robertson in this team because I'm much more sure about Robertson getting starts and regular minutes in the Premier League, which is really, really good. And I'm also confident as Robertson is just a proven long-term FPL asset where he scores just as much as Trent. In fact, in the second half of last season, Robertson was actually the highest scoring player for Liverpool. No one else could beat the points that Robertson was getting in the second half of last season among Liverpool players, which is really, you know, it says a lot about how well he did in the second half. If he can do the same thing again, then he is going to outscore players like Diaz, and therefore Robertson is the man to go for if you're going in on some more Liverpool defenders. They are just such good prices, it's too good to miss. The next player I'm going to pick is a little bit controversial because we're going to go for Laporte. I'm not going to go for Cancelo quite yet. I think I'm still open for the idea of going for Cancelo, but I do want a Man City defender. I'm going to go for Laporte. The problem with Cancelo, and this is kind of the issue of why I'm not 100% convinced on Cancelo, is because I think if City buy a new left back, that's kind of going to push Cancelo either to the right side where he's not as effective, he can't cut in and he can't be as involved in the attacks as he has been last season. He won't be quite as good if he's playing at right back. And also, if Man City do sign a new left back, we are going to have a situation where Cancelo is going to have his minutes reduced just a little bit, whereas Laporte, very nailed on at centre back, had a phenomenal season last season season and does possess a little bit more aerial threat than players like Diaz, for example. So if you're going to go for one of Laporte or Diaz, I do prefer Laporte. His attacking threat is actually not bad from set pieces in particular, and he will typically get you a few goals throughout the season. You just got to hope that you have those goals when he is in your team. We're going to go for Chilwell next. Again, another one people will be thinking is a little bit, you know, a lot of people will like it, a lot of people will dislike it, but it'll be basically this argument, should you go for Reece James or Ben Chilwell? You probably got to go for one of them, particularly if Chelsea are sticking with the 5 at the back formation. Those fullbacks, those wing backs for Chelsea spend so much of the pitch, so high up the pitch. But what I saw from Chilwell last season was quite insane. I know he didn't get to play the whole season, but the games he did play, you could see that he was so full of confidence. He was really just wanting to shoot constantly. He was just taking shot after shot after shot after shot. Per match, he is outscoring every other defender. He didn't play as many matches, but still, it's a very, very good sign. He was taking a lot of shots, like I say. He was getting in the box constantly. He constantly wanted to drive towards the goal. He had the goal on his mind. And when defenders score goals, you get a lot of FPL points, and that's really important to think about. So, Chilwell, for the potential of those goals, I think he's going to do really well. I'm not saying Reece James is a bad pick, certainly not. It's pretty much a toss-up between those two, but I certainly think that Chilwell just edges it for me. I know different people are going to have different opinions on that one, though. Perisic is my final defender in this lineup. We're going for a 5 at the back formation just because the value of these defenders is just so good. They are so cheap, and it's arguably a bit of a cheat code to spend all of your money on defenders. So that's exactly what I'm going to try and do, I think. It's not quite as flexible going 5 at the back, but maybe with the fact that we've got the wild card that we can use so early, we can afford to be not so flexible and then actually use the first wild card. We've got to use it before the World Cup, remember, the first wild card, well before the World Cup ideally. So we're going to use our first wild cards pretty early, and that can be used as a get out of jail free card, as an escape, as a bit of flexibility there. And we can start off just by going for the strongest possible team, and I think Perisic is well involved with that. I actually saw someone on Twitter mention that if Perisic was in the Premier League and got the same returns, the same goal returns, the same assist returns as he did last season for Inter Milan, including the clean sheet points, he would have got over 200 points after bonus points, competing with the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of total points. I know it's a different league, I know it's a different system, I know people are going to say, what if he gets rotated, what if he doesn't play? Look, we know Conte doesn't like Reguilon that much, we know Conte is not convinced by Sessegnon either, so that left wing back position, players in the Conte system who basically play as wingers, even though they're technically defenders, it is a huge thing, and Perisic is the perfect Conte player. Conte's been desperate to get Perisic in, he is going to get game time, and he's probably going to get a goal contribution maybe 40% of games, which is plenty, which is absolutely loads. Add to that those clean sheets that you think Spurs might get, and suddenly we're absolutely laughing. Not bad opening fixtures as well there for Perisic. So let's not move on into midfield. We're going to go for Salah. I won't speak too much as to why I've gone for Salah. It's very obvious. He is the best FPL asset in the Premier League and has been for years and years and years. Nothing's changed there. Nothing's going to change there. He's got an opening fixture against Fulham. I'm going to captain him for that game as well. It's just an absolute obvious player to have in your FPL team, Mo Salah. It's just so obvious. So he's going straight in. No doubts about it. Every year people say, oh, he's so expensive, maybe we can spread the money and, find someone cheaper. People say it's every single year, and they say this is the year where Salah isn't worth the money, and every year Salah proves them wrong. So I'm not even going to entertain the idea of no Salah drafts. Not interested. Salah stays in. We're going to go for Foden next. I do really want a Man City attacker in my team, and you'll see a little bit later. I'm in this particular draft, I haven't got Haaland in. I may put Haaland in the end by game week 1. Haaland may be well within my starting 11, but right now I haven't got him in. That could change. Like I say, that could change. So this is not settled. But in this draft, he's not in. But yeah, I really want to make sure I have at least one Man City attacker, regardless of that. Foden, I am obviously a little bit worried about rotation, but I mean, you're kind of in that situation with most of Man City players, other than De Bruyne and Haaland, who are just so expensive. So maybe we'll try and find a little way of getting involved in a slightly cheaper one. The fixtures are amazing. Game week 2, they play Bournemouth at home. Game week 5, they play Nottingham Forest at home. And those two fixtures, if you don't have a Man City attacker for those, boy, you're in trouble. So Foden is the one I've gone for. There's argument to go for maybe a Mahrez instead, but it's difficult. De Bruyne is a little bit too expensive. Haaland is obviously an option. But aside from that, I'm kind of struggling to pick a Man City forward or attacker in general, which is maybe a sign that maybe I should go for 0. But there we go, we move. We've got next Martinelli. Again, Arsenal, fantastic fixtures. Crystal Palace, Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham and Aston Villa. They've got two of those really nice newly promoted teams there in 3 and 4. But also Leicester at home, I think is a good fixture for an attacker, just because Leicester conceded so many goals last season. And it doesn't look like they're going to be spending too much money this summer to improve their squad either. So great opening fixtures for Arsenal. We want to get in on the Arsenal team somehow. And Martinelli is just so cheap at 6 million. That is a severe underpricing of him. To get a player from a top 5 team from last season, a player who I think is going to be massively improved with the introduction of Jesus. I think Jesus coming into this Arsenal team is a big deal, because his Jesus' tight control, his his passing, his dribbling is going to open up a lot of space, draw defenders towards Jesus, which is going to open up the opportunities for Martinelli and Saka on the other side. So I think they could have really, really good seasons. But for 6 million, like I say, it's just so good. It's too good to be true. And Neto is going to finish off the midfield. A bit of a blast from the past. He was phenomenal a couple of seasons ago before his injury. People have kind of forgotten just how good he actually is, because last season he only just come back from injury, and people are kind of thinking, oh well, who's this guy? Is he going to be rotating with other Wolves players? But there's a reason why Pedro Neto is the hyped up player in the among the expert FPL community right now, and it's because 5.5 million is an insane price for a player who is this good at football. So he is going to be going in that team as well. I love his fixtures. Leeds away, Fulham at home. Those two fixtures are going to be really good for your attackers. You're going to want to have a Wolves attacker in there somehow, I think. And if you're going to go for one Wolves attacker, I think Neto is just the guy to go for. If you're going to pick one Wolves player, maybe you can go for a defender, but if for an attacker, Neto just seems like such an obvious pick for me. So he's going to be going in. And then we're going to complete the starting 11 with Harry Kane, a trialled and tested FPL asset. There's a rumour going around that Harry Kane starts off the season slowly, but it's just an absolute myth. Harry Kane starts seasons very quickly. Last season was the first season he had ever not started a season very quickly, and it was because there was a different manager that he wasn't fully confident in. There was the kind of drama with Man City. Was he going to be moving to Man City? Was he going to be staying at Spurs? But now he is finally settled. He is playing under a manager and a project that he buys into. Spurs are signing players and looking to progress and looking optimistic and looking to challenge and go further in the Premier League, and Harry Kane is going to want to be the spearhead of that, breaking that goal scoring record. I think he's going to have a super good season, and he's got Southampton at home in the first game. I remember a couple of seasons ago he scored 1 goal and got 4 assists in a game against Southampton in August, so who's to say that can't happen again. There's a couple of okay fixtures in there as well. Nottingham Forest away in Gameweek 4 is pretty nice. So yeah, I think a tried and tested asset like Harry Kane could be the one to go for rather than a Haaland. But I'm open to both. I'm not committed on either yet. The first draft, the initial thoughts are telling me Harry Kane. Let's have a look at the bench, guys. We're going to start you off with Olsen, just because I think he is Robin Olsen. I think is a good goalkeeper, and Martinez at Aston Villa last season, he kind of did go off the boil a little bit last season, which I wasn't fully convinced by him at times for Aston Villa. Letting in goals I didn't think he should be letting in. So I wonder if there is opportunity for the backup goalkeeper in Olsen, a Sweden international, remember, to potentially challenge him. Olsen's played first team football for, Roma in the last couple of seasons as well. He's a very good goalkeeper at the end of the day, and I think there is potential. And, 4 million goalkeepers, you don't want to spend too much on a goalkeeper. You're just going to play your main goalkeeper every single game week, really. I mean, that's what I like to do. So, find a 4 million goalkeeper who's just going to sit on your bench, but try and find one that actually has a little bit of potential. And I think Olsen does have a little bit of potential. Not that that's saying much in the realms of 4 million goalkeepers. But we're going to go to our next player on the bench, which is Dennis Undav, a player you probably haven't heard of, or some of you haven't heard of. He's 5.5 million. He scored a lot of goals and got a lot of assists in the Belgium League this last season. Brighton have obviously signed him. A lot of Brighton fans think that he is going to be the solution to their goal scoring problems. 5.5 million is a great price for him, and I'm actually going to speak about him a lot in some other videos. So make sure you subscribe, guys, because we're going to be talking about Undav in some other videos. Stay tuned for that. We've got Harry Winks. I know he plays for Spurs right now, but I'm thinking if Harry Winks, a 4.5 million midfielder, if he signs for a different club, then he's probably going to be starting most games. And if he starts most games for another club, I think he could be the best 4.5 million midfielder for the season. Again, I don't want to spend money on my bench, which is why I'm finishing off the with the bench with Sam Greenwood, who plays for Leeds. He's just a 4.5, cheapest possible forward to finish off the team. And That's pretty much going to be it. The reason I'm not spending money on my bench is because my bench options are not going to be played. I'm not a fan of rotating players. I'm not a fan of chopping and changing which players I play in different games. I will do it to a degree with Undav, depending on how well he starts off the season. I have a little bit of confidence in Undav, but I don't have 100% confidence in him. So let's see how the other guys get on, but we'll have potential for Undav to come on for Neto or Martinelli potentially, and maybe swap out one of the defenders that I have for Undav in some of the games as well. But aside from that, Winks, I'm hoping to sign. He will sign for another club and just get 2 points every week to cover me just in an absolute emergency. But in general, you're not really going to need a bench this season. I'll explain a little bit more in other videos, but the basic premise is the 5-sub rule is basically going to mean that even if one of your starting 11 is benched, because there's a 5-sub rule, if this player is a very good player, and they should be a very good player if they're in your fantasy team, there's every chance, very, very likely chance that they are going to get at least some minutes and block your bench players from coming on anyway. So the bench this season, because of the 5 substitution rule in the Premier League, your bench has actually become a lot less valuable. And even in previous seasons, we say, don't spend money on the bench at the beginning of the season. You don't need to do it. Every bit of cash in your Gameweek 1 team is so valuable. You just want to take all of the money off the bench, forget about your bench money, and just make sure you invest in the starting 11. Maybe have one bench player who is very cheap, and then maybe a 4.5 million midfielder or a 4 million defender or a 4.5 million defender who can maybe come in and fill in an absolute emergency. But you're not going to need more than that. You can afford to not do that. So basically, this is the team. This is the team I'm going for. Captains for game week 1. It's got to be Salah, really. We'll put the vice-captain on Kane as well, because I think he could have an absolute storming game against Southampton. But I really like this team in general, and I think it's not super flexible, but I've left 0.5 million in the bank for this team, so there is a little bit of flexibility here. I wouldn't mind changing Kane for a Haaland if it turns out I'm wrong about this one. Then I'll swap Kane for a Haaland, which is absolutely fine. We've got 0.5 to upgrade Neto or Martinelli if we want to, or maybe Foden if we want to upgrade him to Bowen in game week 2, for example, when West Ham have their game against Man City out the way. There's a few options I can go for, or maybe make a double transfer and do a little bit more damage there. But overall, guys, this is my game week 1 team. I really like it. But there is so much time for change. There's going to be so many more videos coming out where I'll be updating my draft as things go along. But as for now, there you go, guys. There it is, the Game Week 1 team. The first draft, the first initial draft of the whole FPL season. Let's see how closely we stick to it, I guess. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, please do like it. It really does help out the channel so much. And please do subscribe as well if you're new around here to make sure you get all of the FPL content that's coming over the summer. We're going to be going non-stop with the FPL videos. So if you want them, you've got them. There's going to be some fun ones. There's going to be some helpful ones. There's going to be some useful ones. There's going to be some interesting ones as well. Loads to come. Make sure you stick around. I'm very excited for all of this right now. I'm guessing some of you guys are as well. But for now, guys, thank you so much for watching once again. And I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.